everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. I am right in the middle of finishing up the barn build that I was doing, but one of the things that I wanted to do more specifically for you guys was show you how I'm going to build the sliding door, the barn door, that's going to go all over the front. I wanted to go through each one of the individual steps that I'm going through so that you guys can hopefully build one on your own. All right, let's get going. So first off, I wanted to go through and talk about some of the planning that I did and the prep work that I did on the door area so that you guys know what you're looking at as we go through here. First step, I rough framed in the door, and you can see that here on the inside with these 4x4s. I have a 4x4 in the ground there and a 4x4 in the ground here. You can barely see it with the glare that's up on there, but I've got a 4x4 in the ground over here. And then on the inside of both of these doors, what I did is I put a 2x6 vertically on here to give it a nice clean surface on either side all the way through. And then across the top, attached to my headers that I have going for the barn itself, I did a double stack of 2x6s. Depending on how you put your headers in place, if you kind of did residential girt style for your headers, you would only need to put one on. But basically what I did is I stacked up those 2x6 so that they're just outside of the ribbing for the sheet metal that's going to be sitting on either side, so that as this scrolls to the left or as this slides to the left and right, I never have to worry about interfering with that. And then these guys, giving it a nicer face, also protect the sharp sheet metal edges from getting anywhere. There are nice pieces of trim that you can go and you can put over the top of these so that it just looks better. But as of right now, this is functional the way that it sits. So regarding the opening, I shot for about an 8-foot wide opening. I didn't really hit exactly an 8-foot wide opening because of how my 4x4s went in, but that's fine, because one of the beauties of building your own door is that I can build it to exactly the size that I want. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that most of these panels come in 3-foot lengths, basically center of rib to center of rib. They're 3 feet or 36 inches. And so I'm going to be making my door to meet that so that I don't have to do a long cut all the way up the edge of one of those. I want to try and get 9 feet on the dot because this is an 8-foot door. It means I've got about 6 inches of overhang on either side. The only thing you need to keep in mind is what you're doing to buy your rail. Now, you can buy a custom door kit from most pole barn manufacturers, and they will just cut that rail to whatever length you tell them to cut it to. In this case, I bought my box rail from Home Depot, and so they come in 8-foot lengths, and so I'm going to have an 8-foot chunk here and an 8-foot chunk here, which should be just fine because the rails, or the portion that the door rolls on, I don't know why I can't think of it right now, but the portion that the door rolls on is actually going to be inset ever so slightly, so I can actually overextend this direction and overextend that direction where the door will go beyond my header up here, but the rails themselves will not. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to get some of that set up, and we're going to go ahead and set that portion up here so that I know exactly where it's sitting. I know exactly where all the hardware is hanging to, so that then I can make my door to fill this gap. Okay, so one quick tip as you guys are trying to hang this guy, I found that it was better to use clamps to try and clamp all the way across so that I could adjust it up and down and make sure that it was level prior to running my anchors in. Initially, I ran this anchor in, and then when I started running it all the way across, I found out that it was going to be coming up on my header because the header for the door is not quite level. So use those clamps, try and make everything level, and then get everything anchored into place so that you get as level a door as possible that splits your header the way that you need to. So the next step that we're going to be going through is we're going to be making the door itself. Now I'm going to be using these panels right here, which again are 3 feet wide, and I've got 3 of them, so I'm going to be nominally 9 feet wide, but not quite. Because on these panels, it might be hard to see on this side. Let's see if I can't find it over here. Goodness gracious, there it is. Okay, because on these panels, you've got this little tiny lip on this side right here, which pushes it out just a hair, so it's really like 3 foot 2 inches. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my 3 panels from the inside, lay them out across the ground up here so that I can make sure I measure exactly what it's gonna be, because in my case, I don't have the sheet metal that's going on the edge that is going to go on the edge, and so I want my wood to stick out just ever so slightly on the edge so that I don't have sheet metal that we're handling on the side. We've just got wood. There we go, all the panels laid out, and wouldn't you know, we are basically 9 foot 2 on the dot. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this 9 foot 2.5 so that nominally I end up with a 1/4 inch on either side with the wood being exposed ever so slightly. Now, when you're making this, you can kind of see that I undulate up and down a little bit right here. This is not the best place to be making a door, just because it's not flat, and it's really hard to get it square when things aren't flat. So I'm gonna be going up to the house over here onto our patio so that I can make that, and then I'll time lapse you guys through making the door and talk through why I made the door the way that I did. Okay, I can already hear the comments coming in. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't put any bracing in here. I literally just did a butt joint all the way around. It's gonna be floppy, it's not gonna work. Not totally true. From everything that I've seen in the past, I usually put cross braces all the way through, and then as soon as I put the sheeting on it, whether that's plywood or sheet metal, the whole thing gets rigid as a rock. So the best thing that I did is just make it square. That was the diagonal measurement that you saw, and then provide a place for me to mount the sheet metal to this all the way through to make sure that it can stay nice and tight. Now, I'm gonna carry this guy down to where I'm gonna be mounting the sheet metal, because it's gonna get way too heavy for me to carry if I've got the sheet metal on here as well. So I'm gonna haul this down to the barn, and then we'll get it hung up. Okay, I'm gonna time lapse you guys through this, but I'm gonna move the door into here so that I've got less space to move it to get it up there. So I'm just gonna move it over, mount the sheet metal, and then we'll follow back in a second for how I'm gonna mount the door hanging hardware to the door. Well, my time lapse died again. I think I gotta get that figured out because I keep on having that happen. But all you missed was me screwing a bunch of panels in, and you can see it just looks like panels in. I was able to nail basically just 1/4 to 1/2 inch on either side right here. And then I also left 3 inches on the bottom so that the roller that I have in right here, I can mount to the bottom so that it keeps the door in and the door doesn't swing out too far. So measure whatever roller you have to see what height you need to leave that off, but otherwise everything's mounted together. So now I'm gonna go ahead and pull these guys down right here, and they're gonna come up and get mounted onto the top. I'll probably just choose into one of these panels, that one or that one over there, so that it's inset enough so that it sits here nicely and doesn't come off the edge while the door is sitting up. I was thinking through what I said again about I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. It's really gonna depend on what hardware that you get, and they all include instructions in them on how to mount that. There's a couple of different styles on how to do it, so buy the one that works best for your situation, and then just get it mounted on the top there. Okay, so it was too dark when I actually threw this door up and on. You could see that a little bit in the last clip. But what I did to get that up and on, which I don't recommend doing by yourself because it turned out to be way harder than I expected it to, was stack a whole bunch of wood on this side so that I could try to level off the door as best I could and get the first hinge slotted in, and then basically get up on a ladder and slowly work it over until the hinge was far enough in that I could lift up the backside, slide it forward, and hook the back wheels on. The easiest way is just to get one person on this side, one person on this side, and if you have the option for a third person, have them up on a ladder guiding the wheels in so that you don't have to fight with it and futz with it all the way through. But then the last couple of things I did while it was dark are really non-essential and totally specific to my case, which is clearing out a little bit of the soil up here so that it could actually close all the way, and then installing a handle on right here. Oh, and then I also put a block of wood here in the back so that this can't roll off the backside. And then normally I would do the same thing here, except I've got the dirt in the way, so no matter how hard we push it, there's no way the door is going to be coming off of that side. But go ahead and make sure that you do something like that on yours as well, so you don't have some unsuspecting person slide the door all the way down and have it come off the rails out of the backside. Another thing that I installed was the roller over here. I had to do a little bit of work on the backside to get something firm that I could mount it into. Again, that will be wholly specific to your case, but mounting one of these in means that you can't pull the door out too far from the rail. And then the other thing that this is not really something that I did, but something that I didn't do that I probably ought to have done is for this bottom board right here, if I was thinking through it a little bit more carefully, I should have done the entire board pressure treated on the bottom and then rotate the way that butt joint sits so that the entire bottom slice right there is pressure treated. That is something that I can always fix in the future. Because the whole door is put together, I can basically undo the screws down here, slice off the wood at the bottom, and then just attach a piece of pressure treated at the bottom. So it's not the end of the world, but if you're going to do it from the start, I would do pressure treated across the bottom just to increase the longevity of your door. Alrighty guys, thank you for joining today. I do appreciate you being around. You guys are the reason why this channel exists. I hope that you learned something during the course of this video, something that you may not have known before, or this gave you a good jump start on learning how to build your own custom barn door that fits exactly the space that you have. I do not claim to be an expert in any way, shape, or form, and so if you are more experienced with building doors or barn doors or just building in general, I would love to get your feedback in the comment section down below. And if you have a question because you think I might know the answer to your question, or maybe not, and I may just have an opinion, go ahead and leave that in the comment section down below, and I would love to think through the design with you, and I just love to think through your problems. So thank you guys again for joining. I really do appreciate having you around. If you like the kind of content we're producing here on Northwest Craftsman, would really appreciate a thumbs up on the video and a subscription to the channel so that you can see the rest of the videos that we're putting out and all the other videos that I already have. So thank you guys again for the third time, probably too many times, but anyways, I really do appreciate you guys being around, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.